Welcome to MatNum for October 2024. Like every month, I'm going to talk about computational photography using my apps. And so as I've started a few months ago, we're going to try to do a few series, like if they were virtual films. So this month, let's start with this photo, actually. The photo on the left, that's what comes out of the camera's sensor on my iPhone, on my smartphone. It's an iPhone 12 Pro Max. And using this pre-selection card, this processor or archival file, how I name it, it's a preset basically, where the QR code lets you use the same preset and the same variables linked to the variators to get to that result at the end. Here's the first series. So here I used ViCa. ViCa, who's actually in a new version that I'm testing right now. It's not out yet. It's going to come out soon as I get rid of a few bugs. But I'm going to try showing you those presets and how I've been using them and how they can make sense for different series of work like analog film would. That was basically the idea at the start of my software project, being able to, it's part also of my thesis with digital photography, that when you get to a certain complexity of the image treatment, it's kind of analog. And my image processing engine works like this. So here, using ViCa in a square format, image on the left, that's in Iceland. It's a sunset, actually hard to say if you don't know, but you can see the sea. You could see the sea where the red, orangey colors are because of the sunset. And then this mix of this preset card tends to make very stylized modification in the colors depending on the color balance. So you will have something very orangey, magenta, red, and the warm parts of your picture, and something more blue-green, emerald in the low light parts. On the right, that's a detail, an architectural detail of the new neighborhoods in the Geneva, near the Geneva Seva train. It's a new train circuit that's kind of like a metro. Two more pictures. Both are in Geneva. Well, the one on the right, nobody really cares. It's just a detail of someone sitting, which I thought was interesting, the way the hair are rendered, the shadows, the colors, this sort of inverse vignetting, I think renders something interesting. And the very stylized color rendering, like you can see on this building on the left on this sunny day. Basically, in lower lights, this preset card, this virtual film, tends to go into magentas, as I was saying, in more warm, weird colors, but tends to keep some blues. And those pictures were in two different clubs, actually. The one on the left, that's a nightclub in central Reykjavik. That was during a festival named State of the Art Festival, where classical musicians tried to experiment with contemporary, modern, let's say, ways of playing music. So here's a DJ practicing before the event with no public yet. On the right, that's another place which is more of a punk venue, hard rock, metal, which is Gökurin. Also at the moment where it's empty, but I thought those two pictures were interesting to show how this preset card, this virtual film, renders the colors in those low light situations. Here, I found this sort of a mannequin on the left and used the flash. I wanted to see how this pre-selection rendered, kind of like this sort of eerie way of rendering it. And on the right, that's one of those weird cubic architectural construction in Reykjavik, which I found interesting with the light of the day. Kind of like, here we're going to two other pictures, kind of like this image. It's the same place as the picture I talked to you about before in Geneva. This is more modern in terms of architecture. It's larger, but I'm not sure I like it better, but I thought the rendering was interesting. And on the right, that's simply a mix of those two color renderings. And when the color balance is obviously warmer, you get those orange, yellowish colors. And when it's more cool, you'll get those magentas, blue, emerald. As you can see, it was kind of a combination in one picture. And sometime you'll have some kind of mix of both, depending on the light. And those two pictures are in Geneva. On the left, that's a detail of the Museum of Art and History in the old town. And on the right, that's a detail of the street concrete that covers the sidewalk. Very special in Geneva. It's got those small drainage drawings inside, sort of engravings. Very special because when you go with, for example, a skateboard, it will sound very uniquely. You can still roll with skateboards, but it's going to do a kind of a horse-like sound, which you will recognize in between any. I think it's the only city I know that does that like this. Here we're going to some random mode on Camare. Let's leave that film we had before. The QR code was there for you to use it if you want to keep extending my series. Here, the two first pictures, left and middle, are the same place as the first picture of the series we saw before, where I was telling you about the sunset, that garden in Iceland, and very different renderings, obviously, between the two. It was Crunchy as an insaturator on the picture on the left was FJIX Mini for the Filmulator, and Bowie, this black and white insaturator in the middle with final treatment of KD T32, which is a black and white, high contrast, high sensitivity film simulation that finishes the rendering of the image. And on the right, that's the DJ you saw before in this nightclub. He's practicing for the event, and that was a very different treatment, which is MOOP as an insaturator and FJN02 as a filmulator. The place was very pink, by the way. Here, still during this festival, I was trying out a few algorithms, going in random mode, like I've done for ages, testing my apps also. This festival was quite interesting. Here, maybe by having more horizontal ratio pictures, you'll have more detail of how the image gets finished, finalized. Here, I took again a shot in random mode, same place, and then passed it through the experimental editor of Camare to get a random retreatment of the same image. And I thought it was interesting to see the differences. One is more explicit than the other in terms of showing the details. And here are the 6 QR codes of the 6 preceding photos, if you want to use them with those apps, which are Camare, ViCa, DarkCam, and Digital Paula. Let's continue with horizontal wide ratio images. Going back to this DJ in that club. So I thought that was an interesting treatment of the scene. You'll have the QR code later. That's ArcDR as an insaturator. And the filmulator is QQ Blued 140. I think it's an interesting rendering. And if you take the same photo, basically, but with the public that came in, the concert hasn't started yet, but the DJ is already ready. Here we have a very different treatment with RDR still as an insaturator, but the final filmulator is KDC 100, and you see the color rendering is very different. Again, another very different rendering that's with Regert as an insaturator and QQ Blue 140, like on the first picture of this club, with those pinkish, bluish, magenta-ish renderings, and this very stylized point dot like matrix on top. And one last image of the same scene. Here actually the classical musicians are playing, but we can't really see much because of the smoke. And that's with Bomber Baba as an insaturator and KD Adav 200 as a filmulator to end the treatment of the image. Always at the state-of-the-art festival in Reykjavik. Here are 2 images. One reiterated in the middle and left. The left picture was the picture I took on the spot, and that was using Gullball as an insaturator and the KD C100N filmulator, and then pushing it back into the experimental editor, which selected Harate and KD Adav 200 as a filmulator. We see how different the treatment is. This glow, this very slight pattern, micro pattern, which is very interesting when you print your photos, I believe. And on the right, that's simply a random image I liked. I don't have the QR code on this one, but basically I was out of focus, and it's the Filmulator is this folded paper simulator I have. I thought the pattern was interesting. Here are two images using the borders and using ViCa. I don't have the QR codes here, but I thought they were interesting. I was testing those virtual films once loaded in this 1.7 version of ViCa, and I think it works pretty well in my taste. Let's go for the QR codes that we have for the few pictures previously. That's going to be the end for this first part of the month for MatNum. So yeah, don't hesitate to use those QR codes for your own practice if you like the renderings. Ask questions. If you have propositions, suggestions, don't hesitate, and hopefully that was entertaining, and catch you next time.